Considering this was the last Addams Family film for over 20 years, I guess you can say that the reunion was short lived. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and another installment in my Addams Family review series, where I talk through all the Addams Family movies in the lead up to the second animated film, The Addams Family 2. And today we're talking about the third live-action film, Addams Family Reunion. Before we begin, let me know in the comments what your thoughts on this movie were, if you already saw it, or if you were planning on seeing it, and make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these reviews, as it helps me out immensely by getting my channel out there. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more movie-related content like reviews and rankings on a near-daily basis. Well, let's jump right into it and let's talk about Addams Family Reunion. This finds Gomez and Morticia, now played by Tim Curry and DarylHannah, horrified to discover that Gomez's grandparents have a rare disease that is slowly turning them, quote-unquote, normal. The only chance they have of curing them is to organize a family reunion, hoping that someone knows a home remedy. Unfortunately, due to a printing error, the family arrives at the reunion of an ordinary family named Addams with one D, and no one's life will ever be the same. This is directed by Dave Payne, and it's definitely the anomaly in this entire review series. It's the only Addams Family movie released direct-to-video, and to date, it has never been re-released beyond its initial VHS and Laserdisc format. It's never been released on DVD, Blu-ray, nor can you find it on streaming. The only way to find it is through a simple search, but I'll leave it at that as to not possibly get anyone in trouble. It was made by Saban Entertainment and it was released through Warner Home Media, and normally I don't cover a ton of these films that were made via the direct-to-video divisions of companies, but besides this just being part of this review series, I also feel it's worth talking about given its backstory. This wasn't initially made simply to be a one-and-done direct-to-video film, but rather to bridge the gap between the first two live-action movies, as well as a new live-action series called New Addams Family, which was released the same year as this. However, with the death of Raul Julia, along with Addams Family values underperforming at the box office, things changed. Paramount scrapped making a third movie, with Saban taking over, and while Anjelica Huston and Christopher Lloyd were asked to return for this, both declined out of respect for Julia. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is still technically a direct sequel to the first two movies or not. I've seen some people refer to it as such, while others have referred to it as a reboot. And what makes things a bit confusing is the fact that Carol Strukian, who played Lurch in the first two movies, also returned for this, along with the hand-playing Thing also being the same. Though I guess either way, it really doesn't matter, as it doesn't reference anything from those first two movies. Now, one thing worth noting about the Barry Sonnenfeld films was how they got down the dark humor and macabre elements that define the Addams so well. As I've said in my previous reviews, I think Addams Family Values especially got it down even more so, but it was definitely present in both movies. And the idea was to keep that tone at least somewhat the same as envisioned by Payne. Unfortunately, Saban interfered and insisted that this be geared specifically towards children, and it results in a film that's a bit of a tonal mess, as it tries to have it both ways. Some character traits from the first two films are retained, while others are drastically altered, resulting in a family dynamic that doesn't quite add up. A number of the actors feel like they're doing pale imitations of the Sonnenfeld versions, such as DarylHannah, along with the child actors playing Wednesday and Pugsley. They get the cadence of everyone down right, but they don't necessarily say anything inherently funny or of substance. Like, Wednesday still is meant to be very stoic and dry, and she'll say something that's meant to come off as edgy, though whereas the Christina Ricci iteration was able to lean into more adult-oriented humor, Wednesday here says what feels like a kid's understanding of what edgy humor is, and that's supposed to be the joke. Like, the way she comes off sounds like she's trying to push the limits, but it's clearly still very watered down. Meanwhile, Uncle Fester, here played by Patrick Thomas, has now become the antithesis of the Christopher Lloyd version. As I said in my review of Addams Family Values, Lloyd's version showed us an eccentric character who still had his shyer side and had more emotion to him. He was more than just a one-note cartoon character. This version, however, is exactly that, where he screeches, yells, hoots, and hollers his way through this entire movie, all while moving around frantically like a madman. And similar to what I just said with Wednesday, it's not like he says anything particularly of interest. It's just he delivers his lines in a funny way, and that's supposed to be the entire joke. Now, the characterization of Gomez is also a stark departure from Julia's take on the character, where he doesn't comically announce everything with such bravado, and he's supposed to come off here as a bit more subtly charming, but with a goofier side to him. Now, I'm actually fine that they chose not to go with something that tried to be a copy and paste of Julia's performance, as I would have just found that to be disrespectful. And while I feel no one can top Julia's rendition, I will say that Tim Curry is by far the best element about this movie, mainly because Tim Curry is someone who just gives it his all every time, and he injects such infectious energy to a film that you'll almost be sure to enjoy him, no matter how the rest of the movie is. And I'd say that's ultimately my feelings towards this film. With the exception of Curry's performance, there's not much I can say that I particularly enjoyed about this. Unlike the first two films that had a lot of cleverness to them, this is comprised mainly of goofy, uninspired slapstick gags done in fish-out-of-water scenarios. It's divided up into a number of subplots, like Pugsley falling in love with a girl at this resort, Fester goes around looking for hair to feed his mutated dog, Lurch hangs out at the pool, and Gomez engages in some competitions with the patriarch of the other Addams family, played by Ed Begley Jr. But none of them are really anything to write home about. While I've said in my previous review that the Addams can be fun when pitted against people out of their comfort zone, like when Wednesday and Pugsley are sent to the summer camp in Addams Family Values, there isn't any sort of great dynamic here that makes for solid comedy. It's just characters falling down, slipping, or anything else that's meant to be silly but still plays it safe rather than any cunning battle of wits. The only one I really enjoyed was Gomez's subplot, but that's mainly because it's just hard to resist Tim Curry. It's not like this particular subplot is more cleverly written than any of the other ones. It's still filled with the same wacky yet sanitized antics as the rest of the subplots. So had it been anyone else in that role, I doubt it would have been anywhere as enjoyable, as Curry's gleeful enjoyment of the scenarios is kinda what makes it. Now, I know this is going to be obvious, but it's also worth noting how it really shows this is made by a direct-to-video company. Not only is the CGI pretty obvious, with a lot of it not looking finished and often undermining the very few moments it even dabbles in dark territory, but everything else about it feels fake. The costume designs in here particularly feel subpar, and outside of Lurch, mainly because it's the same actor from the other two movies, it felt like I was watching a group of fans cosplaying as their favorite characters, and that even goes for Tim Curry to a degree. Everything looked like it needed something touched up about it, from the suits, the dresses, the makeup, everything. And since it's filmed on a lower budget, the quality clearly feels like something more akin to a Saturday morning special you'd find on basic cable, rather than a feature-length movie. I know I shouldn't expect much, knowing it's made by a company specializing in home video, but when it comes to any movie or TV show, the least you can ask for is that it should feel like you're transported into this world. And here, I would always see clearly past characters and just see actors in costume putting on an act. It felt that way from just about the beginning, and if a film can't even get that illusion down, it makes everything just feel so distracting. Now, while it does seem like the filmmakers wanted to have some fun with this, it ultimately doesn't come together. The Addams Family are characters that are difficult to sanitize. There needs to be some semblance of that edge in there, as that adds to their charm. I've said previously that it's easy for some iterations of these characters to just be a bunch of different takes on the same joke. But here, it feels like they're even taking the joke away. At least in other versions of the characters that might not ultimately work, at least that spirit is still there. Here, though, it tries to imply that that spirit is they just dress differently and they scream and yell a lot or just say things in a funny way. And I can assure you, that is far from the truth. While Addams Family Reunion was made with probably some good intentions, it fails to capture what makes the characters work so well. Its generic fish-out-of-water plot and its sanitized slapstick jokes make it seem a bit boring, which is something I should not be saying about these characters, along with the fact that, despite a fun performance by Tim Curry, the whole thing seems obviously fake and cheap, with production values that make it clear it's a direct-to-video movie. Unfortunately, it's pretty obvious why this is the forgotten Addams Family movie, and I honestly see no reason as to why one would need to seek it out. Addams Family Reunion gets a 4 out of 10. So stay tuned. Up next will be my review of the first animated film from 2019, simply called The Addams Family. But in the meantime, let me know. Did you see Addams Family Reunion, or are you planning to see it? And what were your thoughts? Did you enjoy this rendition of the family? Do you have a favorite version of them in general? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it. And for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep having fun with film.